What's going on, everybody? This is the RPO College Football Podcast, your favorite college football podcast out there right now. I'm your humble host, Jerome Jones. We got my man Ray Robert right in the building. How you doing today, Ray?
I'm good, Jerome. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so happy that we are finally off the draft stuff. No disrespect to the draft. We all love the draft, but I'm happy to talk some college football a little bit more now. Dive right into that. And today we're going to talk some great stuff. We're going to talk about quarterbacks. We're going to talk about state of the programs. We got a couple of programs in here that we're going to talk about. So, guys, first and foremost, thank you for being in here and checking us out. If you are in here watching live, first of all, thank you. We appreciate it. We always appreciate it. Second, please make sure that you are liking, subscribing, especially if you're on YouTube right now. Please make sure you go like and subscribe on there. Also, this is an interactive podcast, so if you're watching and if you want to ask any questions, what we're talking about, if you have anything you want to say, please put it in the chat room. We will answer your any questions or anything that you want to talk about. We will do that in the comment section. So put that in there. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on Twitter, anywhere, you can put your comments in here. And we got our first comment right off the bat. And Jacob, what's going on? If Ratliff is not number one, I'm quitting. We'll see. Goodbye. We will see. Jacob, we thank you for being in here, man. We appreciate you being in here. But we are going to talk about quarterbacks today. So a top 10 quarterbacks of the 2021 season. We're going to start right off with number 10. I'm going to say my guy, Ray's going to say his guy, and then we're going to compare our notes. So I took a page out of Ray's book, and I got an A and a B. Sorry, Ray. I cannot figure out who I want to add 10, so I had to take a page out of your book. So I'm going to announce both of my quarterbacks. 10A will be Malik Willis at 10A. That's my 10th quarterback. Some people might hate me for that. I have to see a little bit more from him this year. I think he will be a lot better this year, but I want to see him be a little bit more efficient as a passer. The guy's definitely athletic. He's going to be one of those guys that everybody's going to be looking at because he's going to be, I'm not going to say Lamar Jackson, but people are going to want to compare him to that. I don't think he's as fast. My 10B, it was no way I could bring this guy or take this guy off my list because he impressed me a lot. Even though he goes to a smaller school, came in as a freshman and led this team to an undefeated season until I think the last 2 or 3 games they just lost. Grayson McCall, man, I had to put him on my list. There's no way I couldn't get him off my list. It was hard for me. I think this kid, another year at the Coastal Carolina program, is going to have a great time, great day, and I think he's going to be very, very special in that offense and really take that team to the next level in his second year on the team. It was absolutely no way I couldn't take him off him. Grayson McCall, very impressive. I thought he was a really good quarterback. He's going to be a great college football quarterback. Ray, first of all, what do you think about that?
I like both your players. I don't have one of them in my top 10, and I do have the other one in my top 10. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Awesome. I'm pretty sure I know who that is. But announce who you have at your number 10, Ray.
I have Phil Jurkovec from Boston College.
I had a feeling, Ray. I had a feeling because you know why. You know why, Ray.
Well, I was getting ready to say former Notre Dame player transferred to Boston College last year after he kind of lost a job to Ian Book.
Correct.
That's debatable if he actually lost the job or if it was just given the book, but I have Phil Jurkovec. And I think we should preface this by saying these are not draftable quarterbacks where we have them ranked. We have the top 10 college quarterback as players.
Correct.
If I was going to list them as draftable players, my list would be completely different. For number one, I have my top 10. I have Jurkovec at number 10. But again, if I were going to rate him as a draftable player, I probably would have him a little bit higher than that. But right now, for what he's done in college football, Boston College not having a great year last year. His best receiver was Hunter Long, his tight end. So that kind of tells you right there that his hands were a little tied with the amount of players he has around him. But I like Djokovic. I think he's a good player. I think that things are just going upward for him. So
definitely. I 100% agree with that. Let's get to number 9. I'm going to talk to him about my guy. So this guy, I think he can either go a little bit higher than he is on my list or a little bit lower. And this is going to be one of those seasons where he could be a NFL draft prospect or he might ruin it. And I think it's going to be Desmond Ridder. I have some issues. I have consistency issues with him. He's more of a runner, more than a quarterback to me too. Kind of the same deal I have with Malik Willis. These quarterbacks, although it's working in the college football, it really is. But I think you need to also have the passing, and I don't think he has as many good weapons to really help him out in that offense, in my opinion. Ray, what do you think about that pick?
Again, I like Ritter. I have him in my top 10. I'll get to him in a couple picks here, but I mean, I think he's a good player.
Yeah,
he's a very good athlete. He's a good college player. I'm not going again. We're not going to get into where they think they may be drafted down the road, but he's a good player. And again, I have him in my top 10, so not surprising.
Okay. All right, who you got at number 9, Ray?
I have Matt Carroll from Mississippi. 6'1", 205 pounds, had threw for over 3,000 yards last year, 29 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, which is a little high at 177 QB quarterback ranking. So again, good player, pretty accurate passer, needs to process things a little bit quicker to me.
Jacob, thanks for your comment. He says that Ryder is a fun prospect. He really is a fun prospect. But the accuracy is concerning on film. Needs to grow a little bit more. And that's why I've never been the run first quarterback kind of guy. So guys, forgive me if I don't have those type of guys at the top. For me, I've always been the guy has to be able to pass first, and then if he can run, that's an added bonus to me. That's how I always look at it. So and I'll say this. I'll blatantly say this right now. I am not the best quarterback evaluator. I never claimed to be. So this is my personal list. So you guys can hate me all you want, and I'm probably gonna PO somebody off with this list. But I'm just letting you guys know that.
Quite frankly, Jerome, I think we had this conversation before.
Yeah,
it's the hardest position on the team to
really
evaluate. So it is what it is.
Definitely. I agree, Ray. All right, let's get to number 8. Very similar guy to my last two teams. I think he's obviously better than the other ones, and it's going to be Derrick King from Miami. I do think he can take a step this year. I really do think so. But it's kind of the same deal. He had some inconsistencies last year. I have him at 8, but I really think he's going to be one of the better quarterbacks. Out of him, Desmond, and Malik, I think he has the higher ceiling out of those guys, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him play because we talk about Ryder being a fun guy. Desmond King is really, really fun guy for me, and I watched him when he was in. I believe it was Houston he was at before he went to Miami also. Just for that small stint, I thought that was impressive. So I'm really rooting for King. Right, who you got at your number 8?
At number 8, I had Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati. Again, athletic kid, good player. Again, another kid where he needs just to process a little bit quicker, so he's not caught so flat-footed sometimes. I mean, he does. His accuracy concerns are all mechanical, all foot placement. He doesn't. It's not a strength for him. When he develops that part of his game, I think he's going to be a pretty good quarterback. So,
definitely, yeah. I agree with that, Ray. We have him only one spot different, so I definitely agree with that. Number 7. Let's get to number 7. So I have Jaden Daniels from Arizona State. I always get those confused. State, right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
State? All right. Yes.
Yep.
Arizona State. So he's a better passer, I believe, than the other guys. I think that he have a lot of upside. I would like to see a little bit more from him. It's another team that I don't think their weapons are the greatest. He had solid weapon, but I don't think he's the greatest. But might tend him just a little bit. But I like him a lot, Ray. What do you think?
I have him just outside my top 10, but I think that Arizona State is a running team, which is not bode well for your quarterback play. So
I agree.
I mean, they like to run the ball.
That's true.
And of course, their coach Herm Edwards is their coach, so they're going to run the ball. So
definitely. All right, Ray, who you got at number 7?
At number 7, I have Keaton Slovis from USC. I think there's a kid that had a really, really good 2019 season, kind of fell off a little bit last year. Offensive line was horrible. But as a draftable player, I like him a whole lot. But for right now, if I'm going to rank him where I have to put him as a college player, there's still some concerns, some questions about him. I like him. I think he's really good. But, again, I saw some things last year that didn't excite me. So I have him at number 8. So
definitely. All right, cool. Yeah, I like that pick, Ray. Jacob says from what I remember, SU scheme doesn't fit Daniels a lot, and because like we just said, there's definitely a run first team. So we have a run first team with a quarterback that's a little bit passer quarterback. You're gonna have to run into that. So all right, let's get to number 6, Ray. So. Number 6 is a guy that we like coming into 2020, right? Had some inconsistencies. I think both of us had him pretty high last year. Brock Purdy. He's one of our guys. I really like him. I believe he has the tools to be a really good quarterback. I just think it's more mental than anything. If you look at the beginning of the season, he was so inconsistent, very, very inconsistent. He gets his weapons back for this year. So it's not that much of a turnover for him and his team. I think he wanted the Cyclones are one of the teams that have the most returning players, if I'm not mistaken with that. So the chemistry should be there. It's gonna really be up to him to be consistent and play a lot better. He could be a lot higher than 6 to me, but again, it was a lot of mental mistakes that he was having. Ray, what can you say about Purdy?
I mean, I like Brock Purdy. I think that I don't have him in my top 10, but he's a good college player. Again, last year he struggled, which the team struggled a little bit last year.
Correct.
But I mean, I think he's a guy who needs good game film this year to reestablish himself. That's where right now I need him to reestablish. And he did lose one receiver who got drafted this year. Very good. So I just think that he needs to reestablish himself. He needs to go back in the 2019 mode and show me that he's that guy again before I'll put him in my top 10. That's all.
Definitely. All right. That's respectable. That's respectable. Who you got at 6, Ray?
I have Carson Strong from Nevada. Big sturdy kid, 6'4", 220. Kid has everything going for him. He's accurate. He's big. He's somewhat athletic. I don't know if he's as athletic if he's just this big, strong, sturdy kid. But I like his arm. I like his arm talent. I'm a big fan of Carson Strong, so I have him at number 6.
Definitely. Carson Strong. I haven't seen a lot of film of him, to be completely honest. And he was one of the guys that I was actually before me and Ray got on here, I was saying that I was struggling to pick somebody on my top 10. He was the one I was struggling on because I haven't seen a lot of tape on him, but I hear a lot of great things. And the little tape that I did see, he was very impressive. Let's see our next comment. Too low on Strong, Ray. Jacob, I don't even have him on my list. I apologize. I don't even have him on my list. Again, like I said, y'all gonna hate me for
I like Carson Strong, and as a draftable player, I may think he's going to be one of the top 3 quarterbacks taken.
I was saying that too.
But for right now, what he's done in college football, I have him at number 6.
Correct. Respectable. All right, let's get to our number 5. So we halfway through our list. We get going to number 5. My number 5 guy would be JT Daniels from Georgia. I think that he can be a lot better this year. Georgia has a lot of good weapons. They got I think they were the number 1 recruiting team in the country. I think it just went down when somebody decommitted. But I think Georgia's going to be one of those teams, and we talked about the top teams last week on our podcast. Georgia, I think, is going to be one of those top teams, and in order for that to happen, I think JT Daniels is going to have a big year, and I think he will. I think he's going to be a lot better than he was last year, right?
I have JT Daniels right outside my top 10. I have him at number 11, but I agree with you. I think he's a guy who only had a small sample last year at Georgia, gets his feet underneath him, reestablishes himself. I think he could be a very good player, but again, I'm going by what they've done so far. Correct. And he only played, I think he played like 4 games last year, and he looked good playing in them 4 games, but he only played 4 games, so yeah.
Definitely. All right, Ray, let me hear your number 5.
My number 5 is I have Malik Willis from Liberty. I think maybe the best, if not, it's either between him and De'Ara King, the best dual threat quarterbacks in college football right now. I think he's very athletic. He has good arm strength. He needs improved footwork, needs to improve accuracy. Does need to do all of those things, but his numbers, 34 combined touchdowns, almost 1,000 yards rushing, over 2,000 yards passing. The kid is very athletic. Again, I'm just saying, as a college quarterback, he wins games for his team. So
that's true. That's true, Ray. Definitely true on that. Like I said, Malik Willis is more about his accuracy and, like you said, footwork. He has a lot of Lamar Jackson in him.
He does. He seems to be one of them guys that, I think, honestly, at the next level, and I see him in mock drafts already, where he's drafted in the first round sometimes. But before I see that, for me, I need him to improve his accuracy, his footwork. I think that it may be Lamar Jackson-ish in that I think what Baltimore does wrong with Lamar Jackson is they try to make him throw too many balls outside the hash. You need to do like what New Orleans did with Drew Brees. Let's keep everything inside the hash. Make it easier reads for him to get the ball out of his hands quicker.
No pun intended. But yeah, I totally agree with that, Ray. I just think that he has like I said, the accuracy thing is an issue for me with him. So I have him at 10, but I think that, and again, like I said before we even started, I think that he's one of the guys that can shoot up between him and De'Ara King because their running ability. I would love for them. They're 2 exciting, quarterbacks in the college ranks right now. Just give me a little bit more, and I can run with you, man.
The difference between him and De'Ara King is I think Willis will play quarterback in the NFL. I'm not sure De'Ara King will because of his lack of height. That's
true. I give you that. That's true. But, we do have Kyler Murray, so
but De'Ara King maybe closer to 5'8" than 5'10", to be honest with you.
He's a shorty. Yeah.
Jacob
says Willis needs to be able to do some traditional quarterback things more to be a first rounder. Very good college quarterback. 100% agree. 100%.
No, I agree with that 100% too. I think right now he's a very good college quarterback, and you do need to define or refine his game to evaluate him as an NFL player. Because right now, his accuracy issues are a little bit more than I. Again, I see him going really high in some mock drafts already, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
For me, I would take him in the 3rd round and say he's a project. Let's get him. Let's get his footwork cleaned up a little bit. He has a tendency to let balls sail on him. There's a lot of accuracy issues, but he has good, strong arm strength. Again, like we talked about the Baltimore quarterback, he has good arm strength, but it's not his accuracy is not always where it needs to be. So,
Definitely. All right, let's get to our number 4 quarterback. My number 4 quarterback, I think, is your number either 6 or 7, and that's Caden Slovis. I think he's an upside quarterback. He can really be a lot better than he is. I think that with another year under his belt, because again, like last year between and I hate to give this excuse to anybody, but I feel like with Slovis and Prody, I think that they had a case of the COVID year. I really do, because they start off super slow and then they tailed off. Like then they were better, and it was like that for Slovis. It was like that during the games. Like in the beginning of the games, he'd be cold, ice cold, and then he'll come up clutch and win the game at the end of the game. So if he can put it all together for 4 quarters, he's gonna be a really good quarterback, and I really think that that's gonna be really. I think he can do it this year. I really think so. Without the distractions, being in a regular season this year, I think he can do it. Right.
What scares me is that their offensive line has been a problem for 2 years now, and they just lost their best offensive line, Lamb, and the left tackle last year, Miami.
Jackson. Yep.
This year, I think he went to the Jets. Took Vera Tucker this year. So his offensive line is not getting any better. So that kind of scares me.
No, 100% agree with that, Ray. That offensive line was bad last year too.
Yeah, it was bad.
That offensive line was really bad. But if he can somehow stay upright and maybe they play better this year, you never know. I think that he could be a really good quarterback. And again, like it was night and day between the quarters, man. Like the beginning of this game, he would be so slow and getting sacked, and at the end of the game, like he's coming back and keeping them in the game, and he had that little bit of clutch factor, and that's a factor that a lot of people don't think about sometimes. So like I think that if he can stay upright, he's gonna be a really good quarterback. I really do like him, Ray. Who you got at number 4, Ray?
I have Dylan Gabriel from UCF. A little bit of a smaller guy.
Yeah.
I don't like comparing anybody to Drew Brees, but there's anybody who reminds me of Drew Brees, even with the fact that he walks around very confident. Had a really good year last year. He's had a couple good years in a row. Mm-hmm. Did badmouth Notre Dame a couple years ago, which for me to put him in the top 5 after that, I must be impressed with his game because he's very confident, and quarterback play is mostly about confidence. So I think he's a good player, and again, I'm just evaluating as a college football player, and right now, I would probably put him at least in my top 5. So
yeah, that was the guy I was struggling with, Ray. Pin him in my top 10. I really wanted to pin him in there. So it was Gabriel and it was Strong. Those the 2 other guys. I just had to pick McCall in just because I'm fascinated with the kid being a freshman and being able to come in like that. Even though he was in a smaller school, I just had to put him in there. I had to give him some shine on the podcast, so I just had to.
Okay.
So number 3, let's go to number 3. My number 3 guy could easily be number 1. I think that he has all the tools. It's just more experience to me, and that would be DJ Uiagalelei. Oh my God, I never could say his last name right. I want to get it. You got it right?
Uiagalelei, yeah.
Uiagalelei?
Yeah.
Uiagalelei. DJ Uiagalelei. Yeah. I think he has the potential to actually being the best quarterback in the college ranks. Again, it's experience, but he really impressed me the games that he did play. I think that he was calm, cool, collective, stayed in the pocket, threw the ball down the field. He didn't make a lot of bad decisions considering that was his first time playing. He's a big body guy, strong arm, can move around. He's not Trevor Lawrence as far as moving around, but he can move around if he has to. I really like him. He's going to be a he's one of my favorite prospects going into the next couple years in the draft, right? What do you think about him?
I mean, I like the kid. I just, because of his body of work, I don't have him in my top 10. I mean, he was a backup last year, played, 4 games, 3 games, and looked really, really good playing in them games.
Yeah.
But because he doesn't have the body of work, I didn't put him in my top 10. But honestly, if you're going to project as a draft prospect, he may be better than all the guys we just mentioned, to be honest with you. But for right now, body of work in college football,
No, I agree. No, that's reasonable, right? That's reasonable. And as you guys probably already realize, me and Ray both don't have Bryce Young, and it's probably the same. The same reason why you don't have. Well, maybe. Hold on. You got number 3, right?
I have De'Ara King number 3.
Okay.
Maybe the top dual threat of any quarterback in college football. Mm-hmm. The only one that rivals him actually is Malik Willis. But De'Ara King is one of them guys that, he can throw the ball a little bit, but it's not – he seems to want to throw the ball downfield, which tells me he doesn't see short to intermediate routes. He sees the deep guys.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes sense off of broken plays. And, again, as a draft prospect, I don't even think he is a quarterback. But as a college quarterback and what he's done, I have him at 3.
Okay, I respect that. Yeah, De'Ara King is, again, like I said, he's just very exciting. And like you said, Ray, and that's actually a good point that you said that, because I actually was going to mention that, but I forgot. Yeah, he throws the deep ball as often as he can. He's always trying to get the home run guy, and sometimes you don't need to do that all the time. Just live to.
I honestly think part of the reason why he does that, though, Jerome, because he sees the guys downfield better than the guys in front of him.
Yeah, and like you say, he's shorter too. So
yeah,
that's probably why. You're not. All right, let's get to.
One more thing. If you were going to play him on a full-time basis, I would put him in a West Coast offense where you create passing lanes with your blocking schemes. That's what I would do with him. Miami runs a conventional offense where they do some RPO stuff and then they want him to chuck it downfield because he has a fairly strong arm. It's just I think he just sees that deep guy, so he wants to try to get to him. Yeah,
no, I agree with that, Ray. I agree with that. All right, let's get to number 2. I think me and Ray's going to have the same guy here, but we'll see. Maybe not. I have Sam Howell, number 2, UNC. Reason why is I think it's not even really him, because I think that he's a really good quarterback. I think he lost a lot of weapons, and that the identity of the offense last year was really struggling. It was like sometimes they wanted him to air it out, sometimes they wanted to run it all the time. Me, Ray, say this all the time, and he lost a lot of weapons, which is gonna hinder his. It might not hinder his progression, but it makes it gives it a big question mark. So that's why I can't really get him number 1, but. Honestly, if he was coming back into this year and getting most of his receivers back, I would be like, all right, he's number 1 for me. But he lost Dami. What's his last name? The receiver Dami and I forgot his last name. I forget. But he lost 2 of his receivers this year, his top receivers. So. It's going to be a little bit different for me. Before I get to you, Ray, Jacob said, good, I don't have to quit now. Yes, Jacob. Yeah, you already know what's going on. Ray, who you have at number 2?
I had Spencer Rattler at number 2.
Jacob, you don't have to quit.
Well, honestly, you guys had 2/3 of a really good year in college football. How could I rate him any higher than that?
I agree. No, right.
Again, I'm not projecting players. I'm going by what they've done.
No.
If I'm projecting guys, I have Rattler probably number 1.
Yeah.
But I'm saying what he has done in college football so far, I have him at number 2. Again, I think he's a good player, and he's very athletic, and he has a little Patrick Mahomes in him. And I think he'll probably be the number 1 quarterback taken off the draft board this year coming out. But for right now, what he's done – He's had one good season of college football, so I am number 2.
Yeah, last year was his only starting season.
Yeah, and if you remember the first 3 games, there were people calling for him to get benched.
Yeah, no, he actually got benched. So let's just talk about it. My number 1 guy is Ratliff. I'm going to continue with it. I have my number 1 because I'm going off of. I always go off of the last portion of the season, because then it tells me how he should look going into the next season. In my opinion, that's how I do it. So he started off very, very shaky. He got benched in the middle of the game. He did come back in the second half and play a lot better, and then since then he's played very well. I think since it was his first year, that shakiness of coming into the season, I'm gonna give that a little bit of leeway, because coming into a big program like that, being the guy, and it's a struggle. It is a struggle, but he showed that he could come back, mentally get himself right after getting benched. Like, it wasn't like he continued to be bad, or he got benched and then the next game then he started playing well. It was the same game that he got benched in, came back and played better. So for me, I think that just shows like he needed kind of a slap in the face, like, wake up. And he kind of got better, and then throughout the season he was playing well. So I think that this is why I have him my number 1. I think that he finished the season very strong, and then he can ride that into this season, his second season, and he didn't lose a lot of weapons. So, and he got Mims, which is a really good receiver for them. If you look at all these other teams, they don't really have the same weapons. You get what I'm saying? He got Mims, he got Stoner, Austin Stoner, a guy that we actually interviewed. So I think that he got the weapons to help him out as well.
I mean, plus he's at Oklahoma, where they throw the ball every other down anyway. So
that's true.
Which doesn't hurt him.
That is true.
And I think the kid's going to be a good player. I think he's going to be a very good NFL quarterback. I just had him at number 2 because he's only had one good year of college football in him. Definitely. And I guess I got Sam Howell number 1 because of what he accomplished last year. And honestly, I think his numbers may be better this year because they were a run-heavy team last year. Yeah, and now they have no choice but to put it on this kid's shoulders. So, again, we're going to see how good he really is. But what he did last year, 3,600 yards, 30 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions, a 180 quarterback rating, a 68.5 completion percentage. Again, you're talking about a guy who played in a run-heavy offense but still put up really good numbers. Yeah. So I think Rattler's the better player coming out of the draft. But for right now, I got Hal as my number 1 college quarterback. So
understandable, definitely understandable. Yeah, like I said, I'm just a little worried about the weapons that he got. He don't have his top guys anymore, so it might be a little learning curve.
He's got Mac Brown, man.
Listen, I had him at number 2. So
yeah,
that don't mean I'm not bashing. I don't think he's gonna have a bad year at all because I have him at number 2 quarterback. It's just that, again, it might be a little bit of a curve for Sam Howell not having to be the passer in the offense and not relying on the running backs as much, rather than Rattler, who, like you said, will be passing a lot more because Oklahoma's going to be doing that. And it's Lincoln Riley too. I mean, come on.
Right, exactly. That's the thing that, like, if you're going to give me a reason to put Rattler above everybody else is because he plays at Oklahoma, and he's going to put up numbers because all Oklahoma quarterbacks put up numbers. So
correct. I agree. So that was a great discussion, Ray. I really think that was really good, Ray. And talking about these quarterbacks in here. If you agree or disagree, please put it in the chat room. If you're watching this later on, put it in our YouTube comment section, and we will respond to that. But, Ray, let's get into our last portion right here is the state of the program. So we got a couple of college programs. We might not be able to get through all of them today. But we'll see how this goes. We'll see how this goes. We got a list of 5 teams. Like I said, we might not get through them all, but this is how we're gonna do. We're gonna talk about the teams. We're gonna see how we think they're gonna fare this year. We think they're gonna be a little bit better. All right, we think they're not gonna be as good as last year, maybe even. Talk about some of the teams that are on their schedule, and just see how that goes. So we're gonna get into our first team, and we're gonna talk about the Louisville Cardinals. So last year they were 4-7. Last year, which was 11th in the ACC. They are playing this year. They're playing Ole Miss, Eastern Kentucky, UCF, FSU, Wake Forest, Virginia, Boston College, NC State, Clemson at the end of the year, Syracuse, Duke, and Kentucky. So the Cardinals, who have what's his name, Malik Cunningham, coming back as their quarterback. Ray, what do you think about the Cardinals this year?
I think that they're going to struggle again because they're in a fairly strong conference, and their defense is nothing to write home about. They usually struggle. I think their offense will be okay. I think Malik Cunningham's a good player. I think Maurice Barkley, their running back, will be a solid player, even though they did lose Javion Hawkins, which will not help them out. Mm-hmm. But I think they'll be probably about the same. I don't think they're going to – could they go 6-6, possibly – something around there, 6-5, 5-6. Could they go 4-7 again? Yeah, they could. I don't think they'll be that much better than that. But I think the Scott Satterfield, their coach, is a pretty good coach. And I expect them to try to score more points than they give up. So we'll see.
Yeah, right. Like you said, their defense wasn't much to talk about. Don't have a lot of good talent on their defense. Also, they lost, like you said, Javion Hawkins, Des Fitzpatrick, Tutu Atwell. Like, they lost a lot of weapons on offense.
They did.
Go ahead.
Again, you're talking about a team that struggled on defense, and you're taking away some of their offensive players. Yep. They're probably going to struggle kind of like they did last year, I would think.
Yeah, I think they're going to be right around the same. What do you think, Ray? A little bit more or around the same?
I'm going to say maybe they go 5-6, 6-5, but if they finish 4-7, I would not be surprised. Definitely, if you look at their schedule, it's fairly tough for their conference. And I don't – they were pretty good a couple years ago, but now I don't see it. They need to – I don't know how well they've recruited. I don't know that. If I had a better feeling for that, I probably would be able to give you a better opinion on it. But I just don't think – I think because they play in a fairly tough conference and they're playing against pretty good teams, if they're around 500, that's about the best they could be.
Definitely agree with that, right? All right, let's get to our next team, and that will be SMU. Now, SMU is a team that was 7-3 last year, which was 5th in their conference. They lost Mr. Boucher. That's changed from Boucher, right? Boucher. Mm-hmm. They lost him this year, so that's going to be a transition with their quarterback. But who they play this year will be Appalachian
State.
Appalachian State, North Texas, Louisiana Tech, TCU, South Florida, Navy, Tulane, Houston, Memphis, UCF, Cincinnati, and Tulsa. So, Ray, better or worse than 7-3?
I'm going to say worse than 7-3, man.
Yeah.
Replacing Bichelle is not going to be an easy task to do because Shane Bichelle is a pretty good college player. They do have Preston Stone, Tagan Mordeaux, and they have Trent Green's son, is a college quarterback for them. So we'll see how they develop, but I don't see anything. Their schedule doesn't seem that hard. Could they be about the same? They could be, but I would think they'll probably lose like 1 or 2 games more than they did last year. So,
Brad, you hit it on the nose too. Replacing Shane Michelle, it's going to be really hard. And you got looking at the quarterbacks. 1, 2, 3, 4. They got 4 quarterbacks on their roster right now. All 4 are freshmen. That is going to be a tall task. This might be one of those teams that might have to rotate their quarterbacks at some point, unless they feel real convinced about a guy. But they're going to probably rotate.
Honestly, I like Derek Green. He's again Trent Green's son. Yeah, probably a decent prospect, but I don't know enough about him to get too excited about him. So
and again, right, like you said, don't know too much about him, but all the other quarterbacks are shorter quarterbacks too.
They are.
Yeah. So
I think Preston Stone's a pretty good athlete. I just don't know if that's going to translate into a lot of wins. That's all.
Definitely. Yeah, it's going to be a tall task. I mean, this was a team that was undefeated for a long portion of last season. And they were actually, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they were ranked a couple of times.
They were.
Yeah, they were a ranked team. So they're gonna be going through some growing pains this year. It's very unfortunate because they were a very exciting team to watch last year. But like we said, they lost their guy and Bouchel that and now they're going with all freshmen. That's gonna be tough. That's gonna be really tough.
Yep.
All right, let's get to our next team, and that will be Texas. Now, this is another team that's going to be having a new quarterback. And they were another 73 team, which was 4th in their conference, the Big 12. And they will be playing this year. Louisiana, Arkansas, Rice, Texas Tech, TCU, Oklahoma State, Baylor, Iowa State, Kansas, West Virginia, and Kansas State. Ray, will they be better, worse, or the same?
What was their record?
They were 7-3 last year.
I'm going to say a little bit better than that. I mean, I like Carstesian, their head coach coming over from Alabama, the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
I like Hudson Card, their quarterback. I think he's good. I think Bijan Robinson, Rashad Johnson, their running backs are pretty good players.
Mm-hmm.
Their receivers are all good. Troy Amir, Jordan Whittington, and Joshua Moore are all pretty good players. I think their offense will be okay. It kind of depends on how good their defense plays. And I think they brought in an assistant that Scorsese brought with him. Mm-hmm. I expect Texas. I think they're going to make a step now to be a better program. I do. So
definitely. This is probably the harder one to say to me, right? Because like you said, I like their quarterback. I think he's going to be a really good. I'm not going to say really good because I hate saying that about quarterbacks, but I think they're going to be a good. He's going to be a good quarterback down the road. But I think this year they're going to really rely on the running game. Robinson, I believe.
Yeah, Bijan Robinson.
Bijan Robinson showed a lot of promises, and I think he's going to be we're going to talk about our top 10 running backs. He's definitely going to be on there for sure.
Yeah, I like Texas. I think they're going to be pretty good. So
yeah, I think they're going to be pretty good too. Their schedule scares me a little bit.
A little bit.
The middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, playing Oklahoma State, Iowa. That worries me a little bit. If some of these other teams, like Texas Tech or TCU, kind of sneaks up on them, that could be an issue. But I'm gonna give them a push. I'm gonna just say 7-3 again.
Okay.
Even though it's gonna be more than 10 games, I believe. But
yeah, I think I counted 11 when you read the schedule off there.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's get to our next team. Our next team will be the LSU Tigers. Now this is an intriguing team for me. Last year they were 5-5 overall. They got their quarterback returning and Miles Brennan, I believe his last name is.
Yes, sir.
Miles Brennan. We already know about their defense coming up. They have various people on their offense, and their schedule will be looking like UCLA to start off. McNeese State. I didn't even heard that school before.
They're a Division III team. Yeah.
Yeah, McNeese State, Central Michigan, Mississippi State, Auburn, Kentucky, Florida, Ole Miss, Alabama, Arkansas, Louisiana Monroe, and Texas A&M. So, Ray, 5-5, better.
Worse, I'm going better there. I'm going better there. Yeah, I'm going better there.
Yeah,
I think their defense will carry them this year.
Yeah,
I think they're gonna try to establish their running game with Tyron Price and John Emery. They have solid receivers in Keyshawn Bodle, Coy Moore, and Trey Palmer. I think that their defense will carry them to a better record than that. I think they tried to be that same offensive team last year, and they just didn't have the formula. They didn't have the players, didn't have the quarterback. Mm-hmm. So now they're going to go back and be a defensive team and run the ball and be what LSU probably should be. So
yeah. After the whole what's his name? Joe Brady. I mean,
the coach or the quarterback?
Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
The whole Joe Burrow era there. I think they figured they can still kind of do what they did last year in the passing game, and they really couldn't. Jamar Chase opted out last year, so that didn't help them in the passing game either. But I do feel in my heart that Miles Brennan is going to be a lot better next year, this upcoming season.
I think he'll be better. I just think that if you're LSU, if you look at your games last year, you played well in games where your defense played well.
Correct.
And that you need to reestablish that you're a defensive team. LSU, like you always call them, D-back U. They usually have good defenses. Last year, they lost a couple too many players on their defense from 2 years ago. Yeah. And they lost their number one running back, probably took away from their running game. But they need to reestablish their running game and use their defense as best.
And Ray, I agree with you. They're going to be a lot better than 5-5. My thing is that looking into last year, I really do think in the beginning of the year they were kind of trying to. They were going through some identity crisis a little bit. I think they were trying to lean on their defense a little bit, but you got to remember the defense was playing pretty bad in the beginning of the year too.
It was.
They were very uncharacteristic.
But you know what? A lot of that is because their offense put them in bad spots.
Yeah, that's true too. That is true. That's definitely true. So I see this defense bouncing back, like you said, Ray, and that was a really good point right there that you said. I think I 100% agree with that. 100% agree with that. All right, let's get to our last team. I'm glad that we got through all these. Coastal Carolina, the darling of last year, the 11-1 overall team, number one in their conference, in their division, 8-0 in the Sun Belt. Had an incredible year. Lost a couple of key players, especially on the defense. But Ray, before I say that, let's get to the schedule real quick. So the first team they playing is Catadau. Second is Kansas. Then they play Buffalo. They play UMass, Louisiana Monroe, Arkansas State, Appalachian State, Troy, Georgia Southern, Georgia State, Texas State, and South Alabama. Ray, better, same, or worse?
I would say better. I still think they're a good team. Mm-hmm. I like C.J. Marble, the running back. I think the quarterback. Grayson McCall is a good player.
CJ's off the team now, right?
Oh, I forgot about that. He got drafted.
Yeah, he's on the Bears. Yes.
Oh, that's not good. I still think they're going to be better than they were.
Yeah.
I think that they if you look at their schedule, it's not a strong schedule. I think they'll be okay.
So, Ray, and your last point is my point, is that their schedule is a lot easier than last year's schedule. They got a couple of bangers in there where, a little tough teams. Appalachian State always play tough. Kansas is going to be probably their biggest school that they actually play, which I think they can beat them, and that's early in the season too, so you never know. My main factor of this is, again, Grayson McCall, who was a freshman last year and is going to his next year going to be playing a lot better. CJ Marable is not on the team anymore. He was their lead back and he was doing really well. But if you were watching them, you can see that they were in the beginning of the season, they was taking away a couple of his carries to the backup, and I can't remember his backup's name. I could find it right now.
I have Reese White.
Reese White, yes. He's gonna be their lead back this year, and he's playing really well. He was playing really well last year. No, hold on, it wasn't Reese White, was it? Shamari Jones. Yeah, Reese White is a freshman. I meant to say Shamari Jones. That's who I was talking about.
Shamari Jones, okay.
Yeah, Shamari Jones was playing really well last year behind CJ Mosley. CJ Marable. They were rotating them very heavily, and then at the end of the season, they was like, all right, wait, CJ's our guy. Let's just ride him out and let him, be our lead back. But Shamari Jones, I really do think that he's gonna have a really good season. He might, I hate to say this, but he might be better than CJ Marable.
I like his contact balance. He's a big kid, sturdy runner. I think he's a good player. Of course, he's from Florida, like most of the other good players. Yeah. But he's and I just like their program. I think they're an up and coming program, and their schedule for some reason seems a little bit easier than last year.
Yeah, and they're a lighthearted, fun team. I'm not gonna say they're gonna be better, right? Because they only lost one game, so I'm gonna say they're gonna be the same. So they might lose one game. Maybe.
It's weird though, like even with and I don't want to get into the NFL. Sometimes you can be a better team and still not win more games.
That's true.
I mean? It just depends on last year they won a lot of fluky games. I don't think they're going to need to do that this year.
Yeah, true. Yeah, but they definitely beat BCU, which had obviously second overall quarterback on their team. So they were not just a fluky team that was playing a lot of bad teams. They were a really good team, and I think again their schedule is a lot lighter this year, which only bodes well for using a lot of talent.
They use a decent amount of RPOs. McCall's a good runner, so I think they'll be okay.
I really do so, and I think McCall is going to be a really good quarterback. I'm super excited to see him again this year, right? But that's going to do it for us today, guys. Again, thank you so much. We're going to do this again next week, man. This is fun, Ray. What do you think?
I love it. This is just got to get through a couple more months of this stuff, and then we get to real football.
Yes, sir.
I don't know. I don't think Notre Dame is going to be as good as they were last year, obviously. I think I had them ranked number 10 last week in our thing. I think a lot of places where they're ranked anywhere from 10 to 13. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to the NFL because, I know we don't really talk about the NFL. It's crazy. I was talking to a guy today. If you look at the Miami Dolphins roster now compared to 3 years ago, it's just there are 4 players on that team now that were on that team 3 years ago. That's crazy.
As it should be.
Crazy. Well, it should be because they were bad.
Yeah.
But that's crazy to think about. That much turnover and not even 3 seasons yet.
Yeah, right. That was the Miami team that somehow beat the Eagles. That I think the Eagles were sleepwalking during that game. That team
That was when I saw what Brian Flores, when I really started to gain confidence in him. Like, he was playing 2 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, and 6 defensive backs.
Right. You remember who
7 defensive backs.
You remember who the leading running back in that game was?
For Miami?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Lard. I forgot his first name, but
yeah.
Who was actually a fullback.
Yeah.
That was nuts. But yeah, so can't wait till the season starts, man. We got what, like 2.5 months? 2.5 months, something like that.
Yeah, so, or you could say we got 93 days. However you want to say it.
93 days. I love that, right? Ray's counting down. I love it. But guys, again, thank you so much for coming on for us and on with us and checking us out. Shout out to Jacob for being in here, and anybody else that wants to comment in here, you can definitely do so by going on our YouTube channel. We will have this posted up on there, so make sure you go on there, like and subscribe, so you don't miss when we go live and have your comments on here live.
You know what? And also, like, me and Jerome love doing this together, but anybody that wants to come on with us and give us their opinions on these players, man, the more the merrier. You know, like, sure. I value other people's opinions. I don't always agree with them, but I value their opinions.
I agree, Ray. So definitely, if you want to come on, just hit us up on our YouTube channel, or Facebook channel, or Instagram, Twitter. You can just inbox us, let us know, hey, let me get on a podcast. We'll let you on, man. But also, you can check out our Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, or anywhere you listen to any of your favorite podcasts, because we interview a lot of players that are on these teams or got drafted already and things like that. So go in there, listen to some of the players, get to know who they are. We like to talk about players and let them talk about who they are as a person as well, not only just football players. So go check that out, Inside the Hashes. And also our website, obviously, but have all our stuff on there, insidethehashes.com. It's a beautiful website. People love it when they actually look at it, so definitely go check that out. But that's going to do it for us today, guys. I'm Jerome Jones, your humble host. He's Ray Roberts. Thank you guys so much for checking us out, and we'll see you next week. Have a good one. Peace.